Welcome back to Beyond Poksha. In the quiet countryside of Japan, abandoned buildings stand as relics of the past. But one school is far from silent. They say when night falls, its empty halls come alive with echoes of the dead. Locals whisper about a crumbling schoolhouse left untouched for decades. Though no children have studied there in years, residents claim to hear the sound of tiny footsteps, playful laughter, and at times chilling screams. There is something undeniably unsettling about an empty school at night. The silence is thick, almost tangible, broken only by the occasional creak of old wooden floors or the distant rattle of a window pane. For decades, stories have circulated among locals and urban explorers about what happens when the sun goes down and the shadows grow long in these abandoned Japanese schools. Some say the buildings themselves seem to breathe as if the memories of generations of students linger in the air, refusing to fade away. Explorers who dared to enter report doors slamming shut on their own, echoing through the corridors with a force that seems far too strong for the wind alone. These are not just the idle tales of thrill seekers. Many who have visited these sites return visibly shaken, their voices trembling as they recount what they experienced. In one particularly infamous school, the chalkboards are said to be covered in ghostly writing. Words and phrases appear overnight, scrawled in a hurried, almost desperate hand. Some messages are simple, names, dates, or cryptic warnings, while others are more elaborate, telling fragmented stories of heartbreak, loss, or longing. Witnesses have described watching as the chalk moves across the board by itself, leaving behind messages that seem to be written by invisible hands. The writing is often smudged as if someone tried to erase it in a panic, but the words always return, sometimes in different places, sometimes in different languages. The eerie sight of these chalkboards, illuminated only by the weak beam of a flashlight, has left many visitors with chills running down their spines. But perhaps the most haunting aspect of these nocturnal explorations is the soundscape that fills the darkness. More than one explorer has reported hearing the faint sound of children singing in the dark, their voices echoing down the empty hallways. The songs are often old nursery rhymes or school anthems, melodies that would have once filled these halls with life and laughter. Now they are distorted by distance and time, barely audible above the sound of your own heartbeat. Some say the singing grows louder the deeper you venture into the building, as if the spirits of the past are trying to draw you in, to remind you that this place was once alive. Others have described hearing footsteps running down the corridor, the patter of small feet that stop abruptly when you turn to look, leaving you alone in the silence once more. One of the most chilling encounters ever reported took place late one autumn night when a man exploring the school alone caught sight of a shadowy figure at the end of the hallway. He described her as a young girl dressed in an old-fashioned school uniform, her hair hanging in front of her face. She stood perfectly still, her form barely illuminated by the Maushano Monade Jistu Matan Mosama Fandesenaring da Konder and through a broken window. The man called out, thinking perhaps she was another explorer or a lost child, but she did not respond. Instead, she simply stared at him, her presence radiating a cold, inexplicable dread. He took a step forward, and in that instant, she vanished, disappearing into thin air as if she had never been there at all. The man later said that the air grew icy cold, and he felt an overwhelming urge to flee, as if some unseen force was urging him to leave the building immediately. After the figure disappeared, the hallway was left eerily empty, but the sense of unease lingered. Some explorers have reported seeing a faint mist hanging in the air, swirling gently as if disturbed by invisible footsteps. Others claim to have caught glimpses of movement out of the corner of their eye, a fleeting shadow, a flicker of white, or the impression of someone standing just beyond the reach of their flashlight. The supernatural effects are subtle but unmistakable, leaving even the most skeptical visitors questioning what they have seen. For those who have experienced these strange encounters in the night, the memories remain vivid and haunting, a reminder that some places are never truly empty, and that the past can sometimes reach out to touch the present in the most unexpected ways. Some say the spirits belong to students who died in a tragic accident long ago. The story, whispered from generation to generation, tells of a day when laughter echoed through the halls only to be silenced in an instant. According to local legend, a fire broke out in the old school building, trapping a class of students inside. Despite desperate attempts by teachers and villagers to save them, the flames consumed the wooden structure, leaving behind only charred remains and unanswered questions. The tragedy left a deep scar on the community, and many believe the souls of those lost children never truly left the school grounds. Their presence is said to linger, manifesting as fleeting shadows, cold drafts, and, most chillingly, the sound of laughter that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Some locals claim to have seen ghostly figures in vintage uniforms, their faces blurred as if caught between worlds. Others report hearing the faint echo of a school bell long after the building was abandoned. Theories abound about why these spirits remain. Some say they are searching for closure, unable to move on because their lives ended so abruptly. Others believe the accident was so traumatic that it created a rift between the living and the dead, allowing the past to bleed into the present. There are even those who think the spirits are trying to warn the living, hoping to prevent another tragedy from occurring on the same cursed ground. The school itself has become a symbol of both loss and mystery, its crumbling walls and overgrown playground serving as a reminder of the lives cut short and the questions that still haunt the town. Others believe the laughter is a trick of restless souls forever bound to the place where their lives ended too soon. Skeptics call it imagination, dismissing the stories as the product of overactive minds and the eerie atmosphere of an abandoned building. They argue that the creaking of old floorboards, the whistling of wind through broken windows, and the distant calls of night birds can easily be mistaken for supernatural sounds, especially by those already primed to expect something otherworldly. Yet, for every skeptic, there is a believer with a story that defies easy explanation. Some recount entering the school on a dare, only to be overcome by a sudden sense of dread, as if unseen eyes were watching their every move. Others describe hearing laughter that seemed to move through the halls, growing louder and more insistent until it was almost unbearable. A few have even captured strange images on their phones, blurry shapes that resemble children or orbs of light that appear and disappear without warning. Local folklore experts suggest that the phenomenon may be tied to the concept of yurei or restless spirits, which are a common motif in Japanese ghost stories. According to tradition, yurei are souls who have been prevented from passing on due to unfinished business, strong emotions, or violent death. The laughter, they say, could be a manifestation of the children's longing for the carefree days they lost or a desperate attempt to reach out to the living. Some even speculate that the spirits are drawn to those who are particularly sensitive or open to the supernatural, making each encounter unique and deeply personal. Despite the skepticism, the stories persist. growing more elaborate with each retelling. The school has become a magnet for ghost hunters, thrill seekers, and those searching for answers to the mysteries of life and death. Some leave offerings at the site, flowers, toys, or handwritten notes in the hope of appeasing the spirits and bringing them peace. Others simply stand in silence, listening for the laughter that has become both a symbol of tragedy and a testament to the enduring power of memory. But the fear carved into witnesses' voices says otherwise. When you listen to the testimonies of those who have experienced the phenomenon firsthand, it becomes clear that something profound and unsettling is at work. Their voices tremble as they describe the sensation of being watched, the sudden drop in temperature, and the inexplicable sounds that seem to defy logic. Some break down in tears, unable to finish their stories, while others speak in hushed tones as if afraid the spirits might overhear. One local, a middle-aged woman who attended the school as a child, recalls sneaking into the building with friends on a dare. She describes hearing laughter that seemed to come from the walls themselves, followed by the unmistakable sound of footsteps running down the empty hallway. Another witness, a former Tinporcher, tells of locking up the school late one evening and seeing a group of children standing at the end of the corridor, their faces pale and eyes wide with sorrow. When he called out to them, they vanished into thin air, leaving only the echo of their laughter behind. These stories and countless others like them have become part of the town's collective memory, shaping the way people view the school and its tragic past. For some, the fear is a reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing every moment. For others, it is a call to action, a reason to seek out the truth, no matter how unsettling it may be. Whether the laughter is the product of restless spirits, the echoes of a tragedy that refuses to be forgotten, or simply the imagination of those who dare to enter the abandoned halls, one thing is certain: the mystery endures, and the fear it inspires is as real as the memories that haunt the old school. As night falls and the wind whispers through the empty corridors, the line between the living and the dead blurs, and the laughter of lost children becomes a chilling reminder that some stories are never truly laid to rest. In the quiet corners of rural Japan, where the mountains cast long shadows over fields of swaying grass, there are places that time seems to have forgotten. Among these, the abandoned schools stand as silent witnesses to a past that refuses to fade away. Their walls, once echoing with laughter and the eager voices of children, now hold only the whispers of the wind and the secrets of the years gone by. If you ever find yourself wandering these remote paths, perhaps on a misty morning or as dusk settles in, you might stumble upon one of these forsaken buildings. The paint peels from the wooden frames, the windows are clouded with dust, and the playgrounds are tangled with weeds. Yet there is a strange beauty in their decay, a haunting reminder of stories left untold. But as you stand before the entrance, you may feel a chill that has nothing to do with the weather. The air grows heavy and the silence deepens, broken only by the distant call of a crow or the rustle of leaves. Some say that if you listen closely, you can still hear the faint echoes of children playing, laughter drifting through the empty halls, the patter of footsteps on cracked linoleum, the creak of a swing moving in the breeze. It's as if the memories of the past refuse to let go, lingering in the shadows, waiting for someone to notice. And in that moment, you might wonder, are these just tricks of the mind? Or is there something more lingering within these walls? Local legends warn against venturing inside, The villagers whose grandparents once attended these schools speak in hushed tones about strange happenings after sunset. Some claim to have seen fleeting figures in the windows, shapes that vanish when approached. Others tell of lights flickering in empty classrooms or the sound of chalk scratching across a blackboard long after the last lesson ended. There are stories of explorers who dared to enter only to emerge pale and shaken, unable to explain what they had seen or heard. The bravest among them describe a feeling of being watched, of unseen eyes following their every move, and a coldness that seeps into their bones. They say that the spirits of the past are restless, bound to the place where their happiest days turn to dust. As night falls, the atmosphere grows even more unsettling. The countryside that is so peaceful by day becomes a realm of shadows and secrets. The school silhouetted against the darkening sky seems to pulse with a life of its own. Some believe that the boundary between worlds is thinner here, that the veil separating the living from the dead can be lifted by a whisper or a wish. It is said that on certain nights, when the moon is hidden and the wind is still, the past and present collide. The laughter of children, the stern voice of a teacher, the ringing of a bell, these sounds return, echoing through the corridors as if time itself has looped back upon itself. But those who have witnessed these phenomena urge caution, for not all who linger in the shadows are friendly, and not all memories are meant to be disturbed. If you ever find yourself drawn to the mystery, remember the warnings of those who came before. Curiosity is a powerful force, but some doors are best left unopened. The stories that surround these abandoned schools are more than just tales to frighten children. They are woven into the fabric of the community, reminders of loss, change, and the passage of time. Yet they also speak to something deeper, our fascination with the unknown, our desire to uncover secrets, and our fear of what we might find. So if you hear the sound of children playing where there should be only silence, resist the urge to look inside. The mystery remains for a reason, and sometimes the answers are more unsettling than the questions. Here at Beyond Poksha, we delve into the stories that others shy away from, the legends, the hauntings, the unexplained. We seek out the places where reality blurs with myth and where every shadow might conceal a secret. Our journey through the forgotten schools of Japan is just one chapter in a much larger tale. There are countless mysteries waiting to be uncovered, each with its own history, its own warnings, and its own allure. We invite you to join us as we explore the unknown, shining a light into the darkest corners and asking the questions that others are too afraid to voice. But remember, some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved, and some stories are best left in the shadows. If you're brave enough to follow us, be prepared for what you might discover. The next story may haunt you even deeper, lingering in your thoughts long after the video ends. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because the world is full of secrets, and together we can uncover them one by one.